I don't think I've ever seen so many people at a Board of Elections meeting before.
But we wish you would come back for a regular board.
Please come back. We enjoy the attention. Are we all set? Everybody all set? Ms. Simons, I see you're here. Thank you. And so, well, I'll call to order this meeting of the Virginia State Board of Elections this morning on January 4th, 2018. We have one item on our agenda this morning. We're here today to conduct a drawing to determine the winner of the House of Delegates 94th District. Ms. Simons, I see that you're here this morning. If you wish to say hi to the crowd. I do not believe that Mr. Yancey is here this morning as his right.
I believe he and his contingency have been caught in snow. They were in the Newport News area and tried to get somebody to come from the Fredericksburg area, and of course so they advised us that they were going to be about 30 minutes late. Is that not right?
Yes, sir. Well, I think we have had an update to that.
Oh.
Or we have a representative here. They have sent a local representative, so we have a local representative here from the campaign.
Excellent. Thank you. You're welcome to have a seat in the front row if you would like. Okay. So as everybody knows, voting is the civic sacrament of democracy, and this election has certainly shown the importance of every vote and the power of one single vote. And this election will certainly be a reminder for everybody that every vote counts as we encourage all Virginians to participate in elections. So what I'd like to do is first provide some background as to how we arrived here today, then explain the process before the drawing. Virginia held a general election on November 7th, 2017. Among other offices, this included the 100 House of Delegates seats. This board certified results on November 19th. That certification reported 11,601 votes for Ms. Simons and 11,591 votes for Mr. Yancey. Ms. Simons then filed for a recount. The recount was held on December 19th. At the end of the day on December 19th, the recount reported Ms. Simons with a one-vote lead, 11,608 to 11,607. The following day, the recount court held a hearing to rule on all question ballots to certify the recount results to the Board of Elections. That hearing ended with the recount results tied, 11,607 all. The State Board of Elections then scheduled a drawing for December 27th. On December 26th, Ms. Simons filed a motion for reconsideration with the recount court. This board then delayed our drawing so that the court would have time to consider that request. Our goal is that elections should reflect the will of the people, and a drawing to determine the winner of election, while legally required, is an action of last resort. Therefore, questions regarding the election should be resolved before any drawing. Yesterday, the court denied that request, and the election therefore remains a tie, 11,607 votes apiece. Today, this board will draw the winner of the race. The Code of Election declares that the State Board of Elections will determine by lot who shall be elected. I'd now like to explain the process that we will use for the drawing. This board conducts multiple drawings each year to set the ballot order, should Democrats or Republicans go first on the ballot. We typically only have one or two reporters show up. We have a few more here this morning. We would use the same process to draw the winner for this election. For the drawings, we print slips of paper with each candidate's name on them. We will then insert them into film canisters and seal the canisters. We'll then place them into a bowl, stir them around, and pull out the winner. I'll draw the first canister, and then Vice Chair Wheeler will draw the second canister. I'll open the first canister, pull out the name, show it, and we will declare that person as the winner. Vice Chair Wheeler will then open her canister and show the other name. We draw both canisters and show both names to display that both names were equally available for the drawing. There's also been a fair amount of interest in what bowl we would use for this drawing. We had been using a glass bowl for many years, and most recently a cardboard box. I wanted something that was a little bit more appropriate for the importance of today's drawing. So I did ask the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts to find us a bowl that was made by a Virginia artist. And Celeste Feta from the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts can tell us a little bit about the bowl.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To be here today on this momentous occasion and bring the bowl. The bowl is by Stephen Glass, who is a Virginia artist. He has been resident potter at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts Studio School since 1982. The glass is a stoneware vessel. In the exterior of the glass, we have a wax resist process, which shows off the beautiful white color on a blue background. The interior is a red oxide. Mr. Glass says that this represents the sky on the outside and the earth on the inside. I'd also like to read a quote from Stephen, who I've known for a very long time. He's very delighted, by the way, that the bowl has been selected. It was actually selected from the studio. We have an operating studio, a ceramic studio at the studio school. This is a wheel-thrown vessel. We also do hand building, and this was sitting on a shelf, recently produced by Stephen early in December 2017. So it's not from the shop. This is from an actual practicing studio. Stephen says that clay vessels, like boats, carry cargo, the cargo of ideas and opportunities. Therefore, I feel it is a very fitting vessel to select the winner of the selection. Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you.
We'll now proceed with the drawing. Secretary McAllister, will you please prepare the canisters?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I want to assure everyone that these are brand-new canisters from Amazon. No marks have been inspected by each member of the board. Shelley Simons. David E. Yancey.
Madam Vice Chair, will you give the bowl a stir?
The cook in the kitchen. Okay. There you go.
As I said, I will draw one canister. Madam Vice Chair will draw a second canister. The winner will be in the first canister. Madam Vice Chair, if you will pull your canister. And the bowl is empty. The winner of House District 94 is David Yancey.
And the second name for the other candidate, Shelley Simons.
I therefore move that pursuant to Virginia Code Section 24.2-674, that David Yancey is the newly elected delegate from House District 94. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Commissioner Cortez, will you please distribute the certificate for signature?
Who has a blue pen? Is that a blue pen? We have legal counsel from the Attorney General's office, Ms. Birkenheimer, provides us with a blue pen so that we know we've all signed.
Thank you, Edgardo. Madam Vice Chair and Madam Secretary, I believe you'd each like to say a couple words.
I do, just a couple of words. Today, we have witnessed an unprecedented event in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We pulled a name out of a bowl to name a delegate, which was last done in 1971 in a tie vote. However, this particular draw also would determine the Speaker of the House, number of people on committees. This has never been done before for the longest-running, oldest legislative body, if you will, in the New World. We can thank the former members of the General Assembly for giving us the Code of Virginia with the outline that Chairman Alcorn has given us. We have a process. We have free, fair, legal elections in Virginia because we have process in law that tells us what to do. The board, this board or local election boards certify the elections. That means they say the numbers of votes that are provided are true and accurate depictions of the way people voted on election day. If someone wants to contest that election or ask for a recount, the Code of Virginia provides how that can be done after the election is certified. We all have said many times, probably everyone in this room, that every vote is important. Never more than on this day in this election in November do we see that every vote is important. Voting is a very serious thing. We've all gone to pre-election parties. We've gone to post-election parties. But on election day, we all need to remember to be careful of how we mark our ballots. This board, I think, rightly so, several months ago, required that all ballots in Virginia be paper ballots, so that if in the unfortunate circumstance we have to have a recount or a contest, we have something to see. We know the intention of the voter by looking at the ballot, not relying on just a tape that comes out of the back of an electronic machine. And I think this was a wise decision that was started by the General Assembly several years ago, and we completed it. And I think we're all probably very glad that for this election we had paper ballots rather than just tapes. That said, it is very important that each of us, when we mark our ballots, do it correctly. Do it with thought. As an old former math professor, Dr. Oglesby, used to say, sometimes you have a slip of the chalk. Well, sometimes you make a mistake when you're marking your ballot. All you have to do is give your paper ballot to the election official in the room, and that official will give you a new ballot, spoil the old ballot, and you can start over. But make sure that you fill in the little circle appropriately, that you only vote for the number of candidates you're entitled to vote for in that election. These are things we all need to remember when we come to vote. We want all voting processes in Virginia and all members of the electorate to be treated uniformly. Another reason for having paper ballots in every precinct. Every voter is given a paper ballot. The machines may vary, but the ballots are the same. Everyone is treated exactly the same, and I think this board has worked really hard and will continue to work hard to make sure that we have uniformity in elections in Virginia, so that when there is a contest or a dispute or a recount, we can do it in a, I want to say genteel, in a genteel and legal fashion. So I want to thank all the members of the election community who worked really hard to get the 4 recounts done, the judiciary who sat and heard cases, and the members of the press who have given the public information that they need to know. Thank you.
Madam Secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd really like to thank Ms. Simon and Mr. Yancey for running in this election. It's truly unprecedented, as we all know. For it to be just so divided the way it was. And it's just so important, as our chairman mentioned earlier, that each and every one of us vote. It is so important in our community, not just in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but in the entire country. We all know the voting process and the ballots are just so essential. And there's so much that's been said of late about the voting process within our nation. So I commend those who want to run for election because it's so important that we have the integrity to make sure that our system works. I'd like to join our vice chair in commending all the individuals that she talked about going through the judicial process and the election community, and you, the press, because you need to get the story out there. This is 2018. We know it's going to be a very pivotal year. And I will admit that this particular State Board of Election, we've worked in a very nonpartisan way, but a bipartisan way. And that's the way it should be. And having said that, by picking out of a very momentous bowl is an interesting way to decide the results of an election. But it's the people who vote that make sure that that happens in the future. So I just encourage those individuals in the Commonwealth and throughout the nation to make sure that your vote counts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you for those remarks. That concludes our business for the day, and I move that we adjourn for the day. Is there a second?
Second.
Say a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
So,